Before we begin, we are not lawyers, and any information in the show is for educational purposes only. If you need official legal advice, consult your attorney. This is AAP Today and Affirmative Action for Dummies.
Affirmative Action for Dummies.
Here's your host, Polly McDonald.
Hi, welcome. My name is Polly McDonald. I'm a senior AAP consultant. Welcome to our new channel, AAP Today. Today we started a new series called AAP for Dummies. In today's episode, we will talk about basics for Affirmative Action Program. You were just notified by your company that it just became a federal contractor or subcontractor, and you are in charge to put together Affirmative Action Program. You are the very first Affirmative Action Program. So what you need to do next? That's what we are going to talk about in today's episode. First, we are going to talk about some terms. These are the terms that you should get familiar with because you are going to hear them in the future when you are doing your Affirmative Action Program. First, AAP. It stands for Affirmative Action Program or Affirmative Action Plan. There are a slight difference between the two, which we will talk about in a minute. Next, it is Executive Order 11246 or EO 11246 or simply just Executive Order. All that only means this is the law that protects the females and minorities employees and applicants. So just remember that whenever it says Executive Order, that is for your female and minorities program. Next is Section 503. That covers the individuals with disabilities. That is your employees as well as applicants as well. Specifically, the 503, Section 503 is a section out of the Rehabilitation Act and happened to be in the 503. So just remember that 503 means individuals with a disability. Then the next one is VEVRAA. It is really acronym spelled VEVRAA. It is the Vietnam Era Veterans Readjustment Assistance Act. It's a mouthful, so we just call it VEVRAA. So it's very straightforward. That is the program covers protected veterans. Next is OFCCP. That is the agency that enforces the three laws that we just talked about. It stands for the Office of Federal Contract Compliance Programs, OFCCP. Okay, now we got the basic terms squared away. Let's go into the next thing. For AAP, earlier I just said that Affirmative Action Program versus Affirmative Action Plan. Think about this way. The plan in the industry, a lot of people referring to the plan as a written Affirmative Action Program. The plan consists of written narratives that covers your policies, statement, all the what is required in the three laws, as well as the analytical reports that is based on your employment data. So when we talk about the plan, think about it is all written in narratives and reports. The plan is part of the program as a whole thing. So when you think about that, when you have the plan done, you also have other obligations, such as internal posting, including your EEO Is The Law poster. That is an example of program implementation when we talk about other obligation. So I just want to make sure you're familiar with when we talk about Affirmative Action Program, it has really two parts to it. The written plan and other obligations, we frequently refer it to as program implementation. Next, you want to pick a plan date. You can pick any day in the year as your plan effective date. You can pick January 1, February 1, April 1, or even December 1. Just keep that in mind. You have 120 days to put the plan together, so you do not want your plan date is more than 4 months ahead. That is equal to your 120 days. Another factor you want to consider is your fiscal year. If your organization has a fiscal year, think about how that affects your workload. Another factor you want to consider is your internal resources. Do you have any help? Are you the only person to put together the plan along with other work that you have to do as an HR person or as a manager. So think about that. Lastly, you want to think about is if you decided to pick a January 1 plan date, always think about your year-end workload. We all understand that year-end, there's a lot to do to close out your whole year of HR responsibilities. So after you pick a plan date, the next thing you want to think about is who is going to be doing the affirmative action plan. You could do it yourself. OFCCP published a template, a sample AAP template on their website that you could download and use that as your first AAP template and put together your first plan. As a consultant with 20 years experience, I highly recommend you to outsource it to expertise at least for the first year, because you are going to be very busy to pull together all the data that is required, policies that are required, maybe need to assemble a team together to launch the program. And also you need to present to your management on the results and also the progress along the way. So think about all that when you are deciding who is going to be doing your working on your AAP. After your written affirmative action plan is completed, the next step is program implementation. We are not going to go into great details about program implementation in this episode, but it will involve your management and your HR team. Just to recap, you have 120 days to put together your first written affirmative action plan. Second, you need to pick a plan date. Third, decide who is going to be preparing your affirmative action plan. Lastly, remember your plan must be updated annually from the plan date that you selected. Affirmative Action Program is an ongoing effort as long as you are a federal contractor. Even though you have to update your plan annually, that is merely for your data portion. Your policies, your statement, the effort about ensuring affirmative action efforts for minorities, females, individuals with disabilities, and protected veterans are ongoing effort. Okay, that's it for this episode. We covered the basics for Affirmative Action Program. My name is Polly McDonald. You're watching AAP Today. I would love to hear from you. Please leave me a comment or feel free to email me if you have any question at pmcdonald@accurateaap.com. I'm also on LinkedIn at Polly McDonald. Thank you. See you next time.
This has been AAP Today, Affirmative Action for Dummies. Thanks for coming by, and we'll see you next time.